nothing there, ref. That's he got the ball. Rise and shine, Tottenham fans. Good morning to you all right across the world. And of course, you've got to pick yourself up from the North London Derby defeat, because today we have another game, of course, travelling away to Coventry in the Carabao Cup third round. And it's a big game for Postecoglou and a big game for these players. I think a big game for Tottenham Hotspur in general. Postecoglou reiterated after the North London Derby, he always wins something in his second season. And I know he said, people have blown it out of proportion, but I would say the League Cup is our best opportunity to be able to go and win a silverware this year. It's one of the easier competitions to win. So I think if he goes out of this, I think more fans will lose buy-in, and maybe some of the players as well, to what he's trying to do. But also, I'm really excited heading into this game, because he did allude to that he was going to make changes for today's game. And some of the players he mentioned, the likes of Gray, Bergvall, Mikey Moore, players like that, I thought were some of our brightest sparks in pre-season, and some of the players that gave me my most joy in pre-season. So in a way, I'm excited, because I do believe the starting 11 that Postecoglou keeps relying on, realistically, when we look at it, the only change from last year is bringing in Solanke up front. The rest of it is still pretty much the same, and I just feel like it's gone stale. I feel like they're maybe losing the belief, maybe losing the desire to go and win, and I almost just feel like that lineup needs a bit of freshness, and I think once we get that, I think we could be on to a winner here. So I'm really excited to see how we get on this evening. But guys, let's get into it. The lineup that I think Postecoglou should pick today to bring home the victory and send us into the fourth round. Starting in goals, we do have a few options here. We could bring Fraser Forrester back in. You've got Alfie Whiteman, Brandon Austin. But for me, I think we should stick with Guglielmo Vicario here in goals. And the reason why is, I think when it comes to Fraser Forrester, I think he is past it now. I worry about how quick his reflexes are. And Alfie Whiteman is nowhere near good enough. Brandon Austin, I don't think, is good enough either. So I think we should stick with Guglielmo Vicario in goals. Word of warning, Coventry have some big boys. They will look to make the most from their set-piece opportunities. He's going to have to be a lot braver than what he was in the North London Derby. And I'm delighted Gary Neville has highlighted it, because it's one thing that I've been trying to say for a long time. When it's in your 6-yard box, this guy has to come out and clear man and ball. Stop making excuses and hiding on your line. Be more commanding of your box. And once you do that, you also breathe that confidence into your back line as well. So that's one thing Vicario really needs to stay switched on for in this game. Moving on to right back, it's a bit of a contention point between me and Jack, because naturally you would think Jed Spence will come straight in there, and don't get me wrong, he very well could. But I have a sneaky suspicion we will see Archie Gray come in at right back. Pedro Porro played nearly every minute of every game for us last season. That can't keep continuing. We have a squad for a reason, and we have to be able to rely on squad players. And the good thing with Archie Gray is he's versatile. He can play right back, or he can play in that CDM role. Now, I know a lot of people would prefer him to see him in that CDM role. I would too. I'll show you what I'm going to do on the left-hand side and the reasons why. That I think, Archie Gray will start at right back. And he's only had, half an hour of football this season with his substitute appearances off the bench. And it's a huge opportunity for the kid to be able to buy a bit of confidence from Ange Postecoglou going forward, and hopefully give him a bit of headache in terms of team selection. Moving on out to left back, and I do think we will see Jed Spence come in here at left back. And the reason why is Destiny Udogie. There's a couple of games earlier on in the season against Leicester. I think, Everton as well. He came off early because of fatigue, muscle soreness. It took him a long time to get back from his injury. We've got more important games ahead. So I do think Destiny Udogie, we would be doing him a good service if we took him out of this team, gave him that little bit of rest he needs, let him recover for that Brentford game, and bring Jed Spence in here. It's a huge opportunity for Jed Spence. I thought he was a real bright spark in pre-season. Going forward, I really wasn't surprised to see what he was offering us, because that's one thing I highlighted when we signed him from Nottingham Forest, that he was very, very good at. He's a good ball carrier, and he can play a little bit in the final third. What did surprise me was how good he was defensively, how willing he was to make them recovery runs to get back, make them challenges. And for me, I think he's got a massive point to prove here. Being left out of the Europa Conference League squad is maybe a little bit of a vote of no confidence, but also I think he'll probably have the understanding, because you have to have 4 club-trained players. It's a bit different to the Premier League, and that's why he probably missed out on one of them spots. But I just hope he keeps his head and does everything he can to show he deserves to be at Tottenham Hotspur, and I hope he puts in another good performance, because what we've seen from him pre-season was really promising, so hopefully he can continue that going forward. Now, over at right-sided centre-back, I do expect Radu Dragusin to come in and Romero to be dropped. With Christian Romero, I think the problems are twofolded right now. I think the interest has probably got into his head a little bit, but also this guy has had no time off really over the last few years. When everyone went to the World Cup, he went all the way to the final, while others came back early, got a bit of a rest. Then he went to the Copa America, went the distance there as well, which meant he had very little pre-season. He's had very little time off over the last 2 seasons, and I do think he's becoming a little bit tired, a little bit fatigued. Also, I don't like the way he retweeted that tweet from that journalist after the North London Derby game. It's almost looking for an excuse for the reasons why we've lost and stuff like that. I do not like that, and I do think Postecoglou would actually be doing Romero a favour by just giving him a little bit of time off this week to be able to switch off, recuperate mentally, and get himself regained and refocused. I do think half Romero's problems right now is that he's just tired. Moving on to left-sided centre-back, and look, ideally, I would like to see Van de Ven come in here, play. Hopefully, we can get the game over nice and early and get him off. But Van de Ven has also been one that's just come back from injury after missing the Newcastle game. And I think there's more important games ahead, the likes of Brentford, Man United, the Europa League. So I do think he could get rested here today, which means Ben Davies could come in at left-sided centre-back. And the reason why I put him at left-sided centre-back and not left-back is because his legs were gone at left-back under the Jose Mourinho days. That's why we brought in Sergio Reguilon. That's why Jose Mourinho was the first one to move him in and play left-sided centre-back against Antwerp all them years ago. And since then, anytime he's played at left-back, and especially in this system, he just doesn't have the legs to get up and down. He's more protected at left-sided centre-back. Some would argue he doesn't have the legs to play the high line, but I think Dragusin would probably be the one tasked with the recovery runs and stuff like that. With Jed Spence the other side, we might just get away with playing him here. Now, moving into CDM, and I do think Rodrigo Bentancur will retain his place. Postecoglou did say in his pre-match press conference that Basuma is out and he will not be available until the weekend, so he will miss this game, and I think Bentancur will step in there in that CDM role again, put more minutes in his legs, give him more minutes under Postecoglou to try and impress on him that he deserves to be in this starting lineup, but also try and put a bit of pressure on Basuma for his return. So Bentancur, I do think, will retain his place here. One thing with Bentancur though, I would like to see him, especially in that CDM role, move that ball a little bit quicker at times. Sometimes I think he slows it down, holds on to it a bit long. You know, you look at most of the best midfields in the league, a lot of it's one touch and it's moved. And I think Bentancur sets the tone, especially in this game. And against Coventry, they're going to sit back, they're going to play a low block. Even if they don't want to, we're going to force them back. And that's where we have to start moving that ball quickly to pull them out of shape, so then gaps start to naturally appear and we can start exploiting them. Now, moving into the right side of the centre midfield tree, and I think Papa Matasar will come in here to retain his place. One thing with Papa Matasar, he's industrious, he gets around, he turns ball over, and I think you really need that scrappy midfield player or that scrappy player in this team against a team like Coventry. One thing they will be is absolutely dogged and tough in the tackles, so I think Papa Matasar will certainly serve a benefit here. One thing I think he needs to add to his game if he really wants to nail down a position in this starting lineup, and the reason why Bergvall or Gray could end up getting in this midfield ahead of him is they're technically better on the ball. They use the ball a lot better than what Papa Matasar does. He has shown glimpses, but he doesn't do it often enough, and that's probably why he finds himself in and out of the team for certain runs. So for me, I'd like to see him, when he gets on the ball, show that little bit of composure today, show that little bit of craft, that little bit of technical ability, because he does have it in him. He just doesn't drag it out himself enough, is what I would say. And then moving on to the left-sided centre midfield, the guy tasked to bring the creativity to the team. Now, this could go either way. This is just what I would do. Most people would probably say bring Maddison in, and he did come through the academy against Coventry. I'm sure he would like to maybe play some minutes at the stadium. But I think we've held Bergvall back long enough. He's been waiting in the wings, and for me, I have complete trust in this kid. This kid pre-season was absolutely phenomenal, constantly bright. Not only could he pick up the ball deep, get on the ball and start manoeuvring us forward, a bit like what James Maddison is doing in this team, but also in the final third, he's played some lovely through balls for other players. And I really like this kid. I think we've got a fantastic player on our hands. Of course, turn down Barcelona to join us, which I absolutely love. And at some point, we have to give give him his opportunity. And one thing we do lack from that midfield, and James Maddison is trying, but it's that constant threat, that constant creativity, that lock picker, someone constantly threading others through into good positions rather than taking the safe option or moving it sideways. And I really like Bergvall. He also commits players as well. And I think this is a prime opportunity for him to be able to show to Ange Postecoglou and Tottenham fans what he can bring to this Tottenham team. So I would like to see him given his opportunity here. And Postecoglou did say he will play. Whether he starts or not is a different story. But I think we should be giving Bergvall the opportunity. I think that he is truly a really, really good player. Nice on the eye as well, which I really like. Now, moving on to left wing. This is a toss-up. Ange Postecoglou did mention Mikey Moore in his press conference. Part of me feels like Timo Werner will start on the left, Udeberg will start on the right, and Mikey Moore will have to come off the bench. But I'm just absolutely sick of Timo Werner. I don't think he offers absolutely anything whatsoever. And I think it's a pointless experiment playing him. In the long term, we're not gaining anything from it. We're not giving him any confidence. He's in his prime right now. He is what he is. And for me, with a team that sits low block, is he going to be the answer to unlock it? I do not think so. Udeberg is a lot more tricky. He's probably outside the sun, one of our only one-on-one wingers that we have at the club that will take his man on. The big problem I think we have with Udeberg is he gets himself into great positions because of how good he is on the ball, being able to beat players, that drop of the shoulder, that quick turn of pace. But it's the end product that's lacking. And even in front of goal, when he finds himself in good positions, I feel like he's very raw. He almost snatches at the chances because he's so eager. With experience comes composure in them sort of positions. And hopefully Udeberg can find that composure very, very quickly, because I think he's a very threatening player. But again, it's what we're lacking in that final third. It's just that end product. But I do think we should give him his opportunity to shine here. Moving on out to right wing, and it should be my boy, hopefully, Mikey Moore. One of the brightest players in that forward line in pre-season. Absolutely showed why he should be a part of this squad. Absolutely showed why Tottenham done so much investment into this guy to hang on to him, despite the likes of Chelsea, Real Madrid, Dortmund, clubs like that circling around the guy. So at some point, you've got to give the kid the opportunity. Pre-season, I love this guy. He was direct. Every time he got the ball, he was positive. He made things happen. He ran at his man, took him on, put balls across 6-yard box, swung lovely floated crosses in, got on the back post to be able to get on things, get on the ball, drive at his man, beat him, finish it. His footwork is absolutely sensational. This kid is a gem. And providing injury, providing he's given the minutes to really develop, we could really have a generational talent on our hands. And I think out of all the wingers that we've seen pre-season, he was the most impressive. I think most people would probably agree with me in the comments. So hopefully he now gets his opportunity to prove his worth to Ange Postecoglou. And if he does, then he's going to have to drop his favourite Brennan Johnson to the bench and make way for someone like Mikey Moore. This is a huge opportunity, considering the problems we have down that right-hand side so far. We've tried multiple players down there over the last couple of seasons. It hasn't worked. We need one player to nail it down, and hopefully Mikey Moore starts. And this is the start of Mikey Moore's career at Tottenham tonight. And then lastly, up front, of course, Richarlison is out injured. Will Lancashire, I don't think, is 100% fit either. So that really leaves us two options. Do you go with Son, or do you go with Dom Solanke? Most people will say you have to go with Son. If Son doesn't score, Son doesn't play, Tottenham lose games of football, which I completely agree with. If we win games, it's usually because Son is at it. Son's the catalyst to it. He's either bagged a couple of goals or set up a couple. Outside of that, if we lose games or draw games, it's usually because Son's been marked out the game or it hasn't worked for him and no one else has stepped up. But if we can't beat Coventry without Son, we have huge problems at Tottenham Hotspur, even bigger problems than what I imagined or what many people imagine. So for me, I think this would be a good experiment. And also with Son, you have to manage his minutes. The guy's 32 years of age. He's getting on. And I think it's a simple conversation. Postecoglou brings him in. He sits Son down and he goes, look, Son, I need you at full capacity against Brentford at the weekend. I really need you. The pressure's on me. I'm going to give you a rest this game. I'm going to bring you. I'm going to sit you on the bench just in case. But my plan is to not use you, give you a rest, and make sure at full capacity for Brentford. Because if we keep putting all these minutes into Son's legs now, when we really need him come the business end of the season, he's going to be absolutely bollocks. So I think now is the time to get ahead of it And I would go with big Dom Solanke. I think he could really do it this game. I think he will get chances to provide it to him from Mikey Moore out right, from Udabar out left, and Bergvall through the middle. I think he will get chances provided to him. And I think all this guy really needs is just to get that hoodoo off his back, score that goal, and give him something to build on and really kick on. The longer it goes on without him scoring, the harder it's going to be for him. The more pressure is going to build up on him. And ultimately, the longer it's going to keep dragging on. So I think because he's one of the only fit strikers we have at this football club right now, he has to play and hopefully leads the line and gets this victory for us. So guys, that is my starting lineup. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with some of the selections, so please in the comments let me know where you disagree, what you would do instead, and ultimately give me your 11 and your score prediction. Also, controversial Archie Gray, right back or CDM. But guys, it's the cup. It's a chance to take yourself away from what's happened on with the league. At the end of the day, trophies is what Spurs fans really, really care about. I know it's hard to say and it hurts off the back of a North London derby. We've got to park that, head into this game tonight, and hopefully get over the line and keep that cup dream alive. As long as that cup dream is alive, that's what keeps us alive as a fan base. As soon as it's dead, that's when it becomes a really long, hard slog of a season. So let's get behind the boys tonight, and let's get into the next round. Come on, you Spurs, and hopefully we can take down the Sky Blue. Let's go.